It's the Church of Jesus Christ.
Duane, so good to have you on Choose to Transform. And this season in particular, we're talking about generosity. And you know the gospel transforms us from takers to givers. So tell our audience a little bit about your heart for generosity and in particular, what inspired you to start Homes United?
Well, my heart for generosity is because I've received so much already. I heard a statement that says, God's grace makes us just. It is really God that actually, grace in my life that motivated me to start Homes United and see that I've received so much I want to give back.
So what exactly does Homes United do?
Well, what Homes United does is we take people that are on the street, that are homeless, that are jail diversion, and we give them a place to stay. We actually provide housing. So we're focused on getting people settled in respite, give them a chance to get back on their feet for months, maybe even years before they move back into society.
So for the person listening or watching this episode, they see poverty all around, homeless all around. Jesus even said this would be something that we would experience until he comes again. But many Christians don't know what to do about it. They don't know how to get engaged, involved. What guidance do you give the Christian to get engaged and tackle this issue of poverty?
Well, I think the first thing that hit me was I heard it said, the smallest deed is better than the greatest intention. I think so many people get paralyzed with, I can't fix the problem. Well, if we all come together and do a little bit, so what does that little bit look like? It could be as simply just recognizing that there's homeless people that need to be directed to people that can help them in their community. It could be moving them to Salvation Army. It could be moving them into a housing program. It could actually just be taking interest to direct people and familiarize yourself what's available in the community. There are thousands of different resources provided, but a lot of times we don't make ourselves aware. So it could be as simple as giving when you're asked, but also providing just information for people when they need it.
One thing I love about Homes United is you're doing it better than the government. And the local government's actually taken notice of what is happening through the ministry of Homes United. Share just briefly a testimony or how the city and the county has responded to your work with the homeless.
Well, I think on an economic level, it cost about $51,000 a year for a homeless person to be on the street. That's municipalities, different services that are provided, ambulance, police. So when we put a person in a house, it's about $17,000 a year to house them. We can put 3 people in homes for the cost it is to have 1 person on the street. And you think about your city, why that they would care about that. Obviously, they want to take care of the people in their city. They want it to be a safe place to go. They know that obviously homelessness is something that no one wants on the street, either for the person that's on the street or for the citizens that live in the community. So we want to be a solution. When I heard the mayor say one of the things we want to solve, one of the problems that we need to solve is homelessness. And we see it all over the country, and we felt like our best opportunity to make an impact in the community was to try to be a part of solving the homeless problem here in Fort Lauderdale.
The 8th commandment says, do not steal, but attached to every commandment is a positive imperative. And so the opposite of stealing is giving. And we know as Christians, we give and we give joyously. Can you tell us a story of a donor or a volunteer that has served, and you've really seen this ministry in particular, the ministry to giving back to the community and working with those in poverty? Have you seen a way that it's transformed their life?
Well, I think I've seen a few, but one in particular is a member that goes to our church, and he had been working with a guy at his shop that was living actually at his shop. And so he was so confounded on, what am I going to do? I can't help this guy. I can't seem to get him a job. Can't seem to do anything that's helping him. And so he kind of came to me and said, is there a way you could help this guy get stable housing? So we moved him in. Can you help this guy with his life? So we got him benefits that he needed. Now he's starting to work. He still works with this gentleman, but he has a place to put his head. He's safe. And also this person that I'm talking about that directed him to our path, he is giving us to the ministry today, and he's one of our biggest donors.
Because God has given us so much, we can give it all away and actually do it with a spirit of joy. The gospel really does transform. For you, Duane, giving and being generous to your community is not just an act or a work of charity, but it really is worship. You see this as an act of worship for yourself and for the Christian. Explain a little to our audience how this is one way in which we respond to God.
Well, I think when I heard that quote by John Piper when he says, missions exist because worship doesn't. His point is that many of our jobs are directed to really circling all those people in our community that are intended to worship God one day in heaven. And our job is to go do that, and realizing that we're part of experiencing that here on earth right now. When we come to church, we're in the community, we have that worship. That is exactly God's goal for us in eternity. So when I saw what God did with generosity in my heart, I feel like every week I get to worship and praise and reflect on the goodness that God's given me. Now I am just gathering people in this community that might not have anybody helping them, might not have anybody explaining the gospel to them. We have EE teams going out to these houses. We're seeing people come to know the Lord continuously. But what happens is all of our hearts are directed more at bringing them into worship. We're looking at them going, God, you've been so good to me. Now I can help others. And one of the problems we've seen, a lot of our homeless community, the reason that they've had struggles or they had mental health issues is a lot of times they have not forgiven themselves or learned to forgive others. When grace comes in, we start to see it's the greatest medication that they can ever take, understanding who Christ is.
Yeah, I mean, the church is the hope of the world. Is there a story that comes to mind of someone who's entered your ministry, come through your ministry, that's really been transformed by this ministry and ultimately by the power of the gospel?
Yeah, there's one young man. He's not young. He's actually about my age. I guess I'm young. But he came through and he had an addiction issue, and it was about 4 years ago. And I remember he was in one of our houses, and he was in a bed in one of the houses. And he actually was so high on drugs that he had put a hole through the roof. He'd kicked a hole in the roof. And I was at this point, I said, God, I can't take it anymore with this guy. So I actually put him in a hotel, got him into rehab, removed him from housing. And he called me and he said, I need forgiveness. I need grace. Don't stop. Don't quit. Now he works in my office. He's been with us 4 years. He's been a house manager. It's just amazing, the transformation. And it isn't a day that goes by where he doesn't talk about the grace of God in his life. Not me, but the grace of God and what it's done for him. And we have now 4 women that work for us. All the same stories. All were either mental health or addiction. One of our young ladies has lost her children, is now in reunification process because she's stabilized for 2 years, the past 2 years, and she's now an employee of Homes United. It's just incredible what God does when people receive the gospel, and they're going to church.
It's amazing.
Here.
He really does transform us from takers to givers. And I see them. I see them every Sunday. They're participating in Evangelism Explosion. Why? Because they understand the grace that they've received. Now they want to share that grace with others. Duane, as we think about the season of Advent, the season of Jesus coming down, the second person of the Trinity putting on flesh, we think about his generosity towards us. We think about him being present with us. A season like Advent that we celebrate one time a year, how do you see the spirit of Advent at work in the ministry of Homes United all throughout the year?
Obviously, Christmas is the beginning from the darkest day to bring the light. I think for us is most of the people that are in our homes recognize that this is their darkest day. And we are trying to give a gospel message that says light is coming and you have a future. But all of us have to come to that realization that Advent is a reminder that it was Christ entered the world on the darkest day, and now he goes to light. And it's the coming of the hope. And what we want to do is create hope in our clients, but also I think we need to recognize personally that we all start in the same place, a place of darkness. But Christ, the ultimate gift, gives us hope, gives us light. And we're no different than the people that are homeless in our homes. We're all in need. But it all starts at the same place, recognition of this dark place, but the great gift that Christ gives.
That's so good. We were once lost. We were once without a home, estranged from our Heavenly Father, and he sought after us while we were sinners. It's a beautiful picture of the gospel. Duane, thank you so much for being with us. on Truths to Transform, but most importantly, thank you for your friendship, partnership in the gospel, and for the important work you're doing in Homes United, reflecting the love of Christ throughout our community.
Thank you, Rob. It's awesome to be here, and thank you for all you do.